Amari Cooper said he wanted the opportunity to finish what he started. His words, not mine. Apparently, whatever he started is now finished because he is. That plus more on Friday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for September 5th, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate you. If you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast, or you're checking us out by way of the YouTube page, you know we appreciate both. The show continues to grow each and every day because of your consistent support and the great job that my man Ari does behind the scenes each and every day, making sure we look good and sound good. We appreciate him. We shout him out. He's on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line if you want to be a part of the show, 707-654-4693. We didn't have any calls or texts on Thursday's show. We had the first crossover edition of 2025. Nick Cattles from Locked On Patriots joined the show. He was really good. I enjoyed the crossover with him. I thought he was fantastic. And hopefully you enjoyed that as well. That was the very first one he's ever done as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. He's new to the network. And again, he's a really good, talented radio host. So hopefully you enjoyed that as much as I did. But very informative as far as I'm concerned. But getting back to regular scheduled programming, we will get your calls and texts as we close out the show. Segment number 3, again, 707-654-4693. And as you can imagine, based on the game being on Sunday, everything that happened with Amari Cooper on Thursday, and the Raiders in general, plenty of calls, plenty of texts, a lot of great feedback we'll get to as we close out the show. Segment number 2, I like to give keys to victory. I know we heard some of the keys to victory on the crossover edition, but I like to focus on the offense, defense, special teams, and really look at what I'm going to be keying in on, what I think it's going to take for the Raiders to come away with the victory on Sunday against the New England Patriots. I do it every Friday throughout the course of the year, 18 weeks long, 17 games, 18 weeks, obviously. But, yeah, that's what I like to do traditionally on Friday, so we'll do that in segment number 2. Here in segment number 1, news and notes of the day, and you know it's got to start with Amari Cooper. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. It's funny, man. He was signed with the Raiders on a 1-year deal on August 26th, and, well, it did not last long. It sure didn't last a year. It barely lasted a week. Ian Rappaport from NFL Network tweeted out early on Thursday, "Come back no more. Raiders wide receiver Amari Cooper has informed the team he no longer has a desire to play and intends to retire. Cooper has signed at the end of camp in a hopeful reunion with the team that drafted him. Now he's headed home from Las Vegas." So there you go. It did not last long. He said at the press conference he wanted to finish what he started. He knew that he was inconsistent when he was with the Raiders the first time back in 2015. He had moments where he was really good, helped change the culture, and then other moments where he wasn't. And I've always said that Amari Cooper never had the drive to be great. He was just good, which is fine, right? Everyone doesn't have to have the desire to be great. If so, the Pro Football Hall of Fame would have a lot more people in it. It's an exclusive club for a reason. And so it kind of is what it is, right? I mean, he's always been comfortable with just being good and just getting by, right, instead of using all his talents to the best of his ability. But I did think that he had an opportunity, right? I thought, okay, now he's back. He knows he's older. He knows he's on a 1-year deal. It's probably the end of the rope. He has a chance to, act like Michael Crabtree when Crabtree came back to the Raiders. And Crab actually had a couple good years with the Silver and Black when he, joined the team and helped Amari Cooper along. He ended up being the go-to guy for Derek Carr on third, and you got to have it. It always went to Michael Crabtree. I thought maybe Amari Cooper can have the chance to do that, especially after hearing his press conference. But at the end of the day, Tigers don't change their stripes. Leopards don't, Tigers don't change their stripes. Leopards don't lose their spots. I don't know. Whatever. I better not say that one. Someone will tell me and get on me how I messed up that saying. So whatever the case is, people don't change who they are. Let's put it like that. When people tell you who they are, believe them and listen. So Amari Cooper is who Amari Cooper is. He won't be with the Raiders. Not a big deal for me, right? I mean, again, I've been very adamant that I didn't think they needed to add a veteran wide receiver to begin with, and I still believe that, right? They still have Jacoby Myers. They still have Trey Tucker. They still have Dante Thornton Jr., who everyone is high on. And they still have Jack Besh, right? Obviously, their number one target is Brock Bowers. They have Big Mike. And at the end of the day, Raider Nation, there's only one ball, right? So everyone's not going to get fed. I'm sure that they'll probably bring up one of their guys from the practice squad, like Alex Bachman, maybe Shedrick Action Jackson, one of those guys, or maybe they end up going out and signing a veteran anyway, just as insurance. But at this stage of the game, I feel like you roll with the guys that have been in camp with you, blood, sweat, and tears, trying to make the 53, trying to get ready for Sunday, as opposed to the guy that just showed up and decided, I'm in shape. I know I haven't done anything all summer, but I'm in shape. I'm good to go. No, man. There's a difference about being in shape and football shape. Coop clearly wasn't. Saw some videos from practice. Obviously, I seen him a little bit as well. Looked like he was a little fluffy, but at the end of the day, it's like, okay, he's a little bit older. These kind of things happen, so he's going to be fine, but he just wasn't going to be fine. Didn't expect him to really play this week anyway. Didn't think that he was going to be ready to go, and you only dress 48 guys anyway, so wasn't sure if he was going to even be up, and now we know he's not going to be up because, well, he's no longer on the team. We had an opportunity on Thursday to talk to Chip Kelly and Patrick Graham and got an opportunity to get inside the Raiders locker room before practice, and Chip Kelly was asked by Vinny Bonsignore about the sudden retirement of Amari Cooper and what that means.
Well, I feel because he's he's a talented player now, but he called Pete this morning, had a good conversation with Pete, and I think he's just done playing, but you could still see the talent was there. But we still have today, Thursday, Friday, Saturday's practice session before we have to finalize who was up and who was down, and we hadn't made any final decisions on was he going to play in the first game or not in the first game. He was training with us and got reps and all those other things, but it was a matter of, usually I think for everybody, you're not making your final 46-man roster or 48-man roster until Saturday anyway, so we hadn't had any discussions. We said we were going to go through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we determine who was up and who was down. So it's unfortunate because I think the world of him. I think he's a heck of a football player. He's had a heck of an NFL career, but he knows in his heart what he wants to do. So I wish him the best. I've always been a big fan of his.
Chip Kelly, very, really respectful and complimentary of Amari Cooper. And obviously he was looking forward to him because he knows the talent he is. But again, just wasn't ready to go. I don't think that you could really miss him too much because you really never had him and he didn't do anything for the team. So again, I don't think it's that big of a loss. Now, another thing that I wanted to ask Chip Kelly about at the press conference earlier on Thursday was about, the maturation of the offense in his playbook. And then also I followed up the question asking about coaching from the booth or coaching from the field, something that I know a lot of people like to know, is there a benefit from being in the booth, benefit from being on the field, kind of what's the, compare and contrast there. So here's Chip Kelly responding to, players picking up his playbook, how they feel that he feels that they are right now, and also the booth or the field as far as coaching.
Obviously, you expect the guys to get better and better and more well-versed with your playbook every day. How do you feel they are right now heading into week one?
They're doing great. I think part of it leads from Gino because Gino's been around. He's played for a lot of coaches. He's been in the league for a while. There's been a lot of collaboration with him. He's got a great point of view in terms of the game of football. He's as smart a guy as I've ever been around playing the game. So, really excited about what he feels comfortable in. And that's what this deal is when we're going into these games is what do our players feel comfortable in? Because it really doesn't matter what we know because we're not playing the game. It's really how does Gino feel in terms of the game plan, and he has a lot of input on it, and so we'll kind of roll from there.
For you as a coach, what's the difference feel being coaching on the sideline and coaching in the booth?
That's a great question. I think you can see the game better from the booth, and I think you can feel the game better from the sideline. So, I think sometimes you can't tell that, hey, that corner looks like there's something wrong with him because he's in front of you and you're watching him. He looks like he's limping a little bit. You may not see it. It's a little bit more sanitized when you're up top. You're just kind of seeing how they're deployed. Is it a 7-man spacing or 8-man spacing with the front? What are they playing coverage-wise? Are the corners playing inside leverage, outside leverage? Sometimes when you're on the field, you can't see the leverage of the corner on the other side. He looks like he's 6 or 7 yards off, but is he inside or outside? So I've always felt like that. I think you can see the game better from up top, but I think you can feel the game better from the field.
Really good stuff from Chip Kelly. He's always very informative and very detailed with his answers. I really do appreciate being able to talk to him. And it's funny, while we were having the press conference, the PR girl, and she does a really good job, Jade, she knew that Patrick Graham was coming up next and he was waiting and he had to hurry up pretty quickly. So he was trying to get Chip Kelly to hurry up. And so she was trying, all right, that's the last one. So she's trying to get him out of there. And Chip's like, oh, no, it's okay. So Tashawn Reed got an extra question in. And so I could tell. I mean, sometimes their job is so hard. I give her a lot of credit for doing the best that she could. But Chip Kelly is very informative and, very detailed with his answers. That's something that we can appreciate. Also, what I got here for segment number 1, news and notes notes of the day. Just wanted to go over the injury report. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it comes out. We'll find out again today following practice, the final injury report of the week, and then 90 minutes before kickoff, we'll find out the inactives. And again, that's about 90 minutes before kickoff. But for the Patriots, cornerback Christian Gonzalez, hamstring, did not participate on Wednesday, did not participate on Thursday. But remember, they don't need him anyway. They don't need him week one. The Raiders don't have anything. You don't need Gonzo week one. So most likely he's not playing, hasn't practiced since July. Also, their cornerback Charles Woods, who had a groin injury. Also, he was on the injury report on Wednesday with concussion. That is now off the injury report. He was limited on Wednesday, full participant on Thursday, so he seems like he's good to go. Efton Chisholm, the third, the wide receiver, had a knee injury, full participant on Wednesday, full participant on Thursday. Their defensive tackle, Christian Barmore, not injury-related, not listed. He was not a participant on Thursday. That's something to pay attention to. And then also Will Campbell, their tackle, their rookie tackle, not listed on Wednesday, dealing with the ankle injury, was limited on Thursday. That could be something of a concern for an offensive line that's trying to come together. I'm sure he'll still play, even though he's limited and has the ankle injury, but that's something that maybe the Raiders defensive line could pay attention to and try to take advantage if he's hobbled just a little bit. On the Raiders side of thing, they're clean. Caillou Blue Kelly, the cornerback, hamstring issue, full participant on Wednesday, full participant on Thursday. Same with quarterback Kenny Pickett, hamstring issue, full participant on Wednesday, full participant on Thursday. So they sound like they're good to go. We'll get, like I said, one more injury report later on after practice today, and then we'll find out the official inactives 90 minutes before kickoff coming up on Sunday. So what is it going to take? We know the Raiders are healthy. What is it going to take for them to get a W? Offensively, defensively, special teams. We break that down in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about a couple of great sponsors here on the show, including PrizePicks. As a matter of fact, this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. It's a daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I, we make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you could turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. It's quick, easy, and a lot of folks, it's their favorite way to follow along with football. Like, check this out. Some of the projections, like Josh Allen, more or less than 270 passing yards. You know, they play the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday. That's going to be a fantastic game. Or how about this one? Saquon Barkley for more or less than 1 rushing touchdown. If you went more, right? I mean, he got 1 rushing touchdown, so, I mean, that would have been it. Maybe you say, less, you would have been wrong. But, I mean, look, he did get 1 rushing touchdown. Jalen Hurts got 2 in the Eagles' defeat of the Cowboys to start the season off. There's so many different projections that you can have and you can win. The Chiefs have a couple. They're in action tonight going up against the Chargers in Brazil. So many different ways to play. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. I also want to tell you about Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive, and that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, and performance to deliver a driving experience that feels alive in every single detail. Mazda offers more than safety. It's won more 2025 IIHS top safety pick and awards than anyone else. And look, athletes focus on every detail. Mazda, it does the same. Metallic accents, great hand-stitched leather. Whew, you can feel it the moment you get behind the wheel. Smooth handling, innovative controls, and standard all-wheel drive in every crossover SUV. It could be a quick drive to practice, a weekend road trip. Mazda makes every drive feel special. It's the small details that make the big plays. And just like there's more to every player, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to close out the week strong, giving the keys to victory for the Raiders. How I believe they can go into New England as 2.5-point underdogs and get the dub, return to Vegas 1-0. And look, I told Nick on Thursday on the crossover edition, I believe that the Raiders are going to win 23-20. I've been feeling that way pretty much all week. I think on Tuesday, I said on my radio show, Unnecessary Roughness on Raider Nation Radio 920, that the Raiders were going to win 23-20. I've been very, as a matter of fact, that they're going to go in there and get a 3-point victory. I know the game's going to be close. I feel like they're very evenly matched. I just think the Raiders are going to come out on top. And normally I don't start really getting a good feel of this game until Thursday or Friday, whatever the case may be. Sometimes I just don't have a good gut feeling, but for some reason, on Tuesday, I felt like the Raiders were going to win. That was my gut feeling. Now, I say it all the time. That could be gas, or that could be I'm onto something. So hopefully I'm onto something, and the Raiders get the dub coming up on Sunday. So how do I think that they can get it done? I'll start with the defense because I think that's where the biggest questions are, at least for me, right? I feel pretty good about the offense, and we'll talk about them in a few minutes, but I feel like the defense is where the biggest questions are. So I feel like Josh McDaniels and the Patriots, and Mike Vrabel for that much, even though he's the defensive-minded head coach similar to Pete Carroll, they're going to want to be physical. They're going to want to run the rock. So the Raiders defensively are going to have to stop the run. And I feel like the Raiders are built to stop the run. I really do. From the defensive line to the linebackers, those linebackers are ready to come downhill like bloodthirsty pirates and stop the ball carrier. They've got Ramondre Stevenson. They've got Travion Henderson. They've got the dudes that can run the rock. They've got guys like Drake May as a quarterback who can also get out of the pocket and run a little something too. So the Raiders must stop the run first and foremost. Try to force the Patriots to be one-dimensional, right? And you can't lose contain. I mentioned Drake May and him getting outside the pocket. When you do have a chance to get around him, you do have a chance to get him, to the ground and sack him, pressure him, maybe force him into a bad decision. You've got to be able to do that. Don't let him break contain. If he gets outside the pocket, not only is he going to try to run, but he's going to try to keep his eyes down the field and maybe get a big play, right? One of those scramble drill plays. So you've got to keep contained. You've got to keep your eyes on the quarterback. Don't let him get, able to wiggle loose and make a big play. But it all starts up front by stopping the run. And I do truly believe the Raiders are built to stop the run. Just looking at the defensive line and the linebackers. E-Rob, he wants to stop the run. Jamal Adams wants to stop the run. Jermaine Duprat is a tackling machine, stopping the run, right? All these guys can make that happen, right? Hell, let the Raiders defense actually play with the lead, right? We'll talk about the offense in a minute, but, give them that opportunity to try to make the Patriots turn them in to one-dimensional. But I mentioned Drake May, force him into a mistake, right? Because he's going to put the ball in harm's way. He's a good quarterback. He's a young quarterback, though. He will give you an opportunity to make a play defensively. The thing for the Raiders are, because they don't create so many turnovers, they had 10 interceptions last year, and they only recovered 3 fumbles. 13 total turnovers they created, right? They have to do a better job of that. So when the ball is in harm's way and you have an opportunity to make a play, you have to make that play. If it's a tip ball and it's hanging up there, hovering in the air, someone's got to come underneath it and get it. Right? If the ball's on the ground, if it's a fumble, you got to be able to recover it. There's so many times last year, what did they do? Fall on maybe 8 fumbles total out of 33, and some of those were their own, but they only fell on like 8 fumbles out of 33. Like, that can't happen. If the ball's on the ground, pick it up. If it's a way that you can make plays, like an interception, go make that play. Right? I felt pretty encouraged from the first couple preseason games, and I know that's just the preseason, but seeing the Raiders and their safeties come up with interceptions, thought that was good. Jeremy Chin got one. Isaiah Palomao got one. I'd like to see them start to make attention to detail when it comes to getting the ball. I know Pete Carroll's all about the ball. When Drake May gives you an opportunity, and I promise you, in the game on Sunday, you watch, he'll give you at least 3 opportunities to make plays. I'm not saying you have to do it every time, but you have to at least make one play, preferably 2. But I feel like he'll put the ball in harm's way, or the Patriots as a team will give you an opportunity about 3 times in this game to make a big play for your team. The Raiders defense has to do that. And I think most importantly, stay disciplined. Stay disciplined on defense. Don't give up those freebies, right? 3rd and 15, a stupid penalty that all of a sudden gets them a first down, illegal contact, late hit, whatever the case may be, right? Taunting. We saw a taunting penalty on the Eagles on Thursday. Like, stuff like that. The league is looking at that. So I know guys want to celebrate. We call the NFL the no fun league for a reason. Guys want to celebrate. Guys want to flex on everyone and let them know how great they are and how their breath stinks and their mama ain't worth a salt, whatever. That's fine. But the league ain't going to let you do that. And don't get a stupid penalty giving the Patriots new life. If they, and we saw this against the 49ers? Yeah, it was against the 49ers. The Raiders defense made a really good play. It was going to be 2nd and 10, but they got a penalty, a late hit on the quarterback, and instead of 2nd and 10 from like the 30, it was 1st and 10 from the 45, and the 49ers went down and got a touchdown. Like, that always happens. I always call it the baseball effect. in baseball, and I'm a big baseball fan, if a team allows a team to have an extra out, like say they make a mistake, they make an error, and they should have got out and probably got out of the inning. Instead, there's, oh, well, you know what? They gotta do that again. It always seems to come back and bite you in baseball. Well, it always goes back to bite the Raiders as well. When they're ready to get off the field, especially on 3rd and long, and then they make some mistake out of discipline, not being disciplined, it always comes back to bite them. They can't do that, and they got to protect the middle of the field. I know that's a lot of boxes to check. Stop the run, force Drake May into a mistake, take advantage of it when he makes a mistake, stay disciplined, don't give it the freebies, and protect the middle of the field. Check, 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 check. You check even 3 out of 4 of those, you're probably going to win the game. Just straight up, because I do think the offense is going to be pretty good. But what do the offense have to do? Just like I said, the defense has to create a turnover or two. The offense has to protect the ball. The one thing I'm concerned about is I don't want these guys to try to do too much. DTM, do too much, right? I don't want to see Geno trying to force too much. Like, I get it. I'm not saying, be scary with the ball, but you have options in the red zone. Don't get Seattle Seahawks Geno on us and all of a sudden start throwing in interceptions in the end zone. Protect the rock, right? As much as I want touchdowns, I'll take a field goal as opposed to no points, right? And plus, that's a big momentum shift. We saw it on Thursday's football game. Eagles and the Cowboys. The Cowboys were about to score. They fumble, right? Give the Eagles the ball. Then they go into the big weather delay, and there's never a score after that, right? If the Cowboys had scored that touchdown before the weather delay instead of fumbling the ball, they win that game. They only lost 24-20, right? They would have won that game. But a mistake they made cost them the game. So the Raiders have to protect the ball. I'm not just talking about Geno either. I asked Ashton Jeanty how he doesn't make this game too big. Being his first NFL game, knowing he was drafted number 6 overall. Every time Jeanty touches the ball, Raider Nation is going to think it's a home run. I promise you. And you might be sitting there listening right now and be like, nah, Q, I expect him to get 3-4 yards of carry the ball 25 times, get around 100 yards. Yeah, I expect. No, you don't. Every time. And I fall victim to it as well. Just because it's the new, exciting new toy, as soon as he touches the ball, everyone's like, right? Because we all think, here he goes. Here he goes. He got 2,600 yards last year at Boise State. Here he goes. Let's go. Right? I mean, that's what we all expect. So if we expect that, what do you think he's expecting? So he's a very grounded young man. He's a guy that believes in the process, right? He's a guy that, tries to do the same thing every time. As he told me when I asked him about it, he said, look, if it's the Super Bowl or the first game, I want to approach it all the same. Right. So, we'll take him at his word and hope that that's the case. But there could also be a case of, hey, I'm trying to prove why they took me number 6 overall. I can break this tackle. I can run this player over. And you don't want to put the ball on the ground. So allow the game to come to him. I think Ashton Jeanty is going to be phenomenal. But he doesn't have to hit a home run every time he gets the ball. You let the game come to him. I guarantee you, if he's on carry 20, 21, 22 in the fourth quarter, a big play is on the way. Right? Ashton Jeanty's that guy that's going to wear you down. That offensive line leaning on you is going to wear you down. And then all of a sudden, boom, they might be just trying to salt the game away. And then all of a sudden he breaks a 30 or 40-yard run like Zamir White did again in Kansas City in 2023 when they won that game against the Chiefs. Right? I mean, they're just trying to run the clock out. And all of a sudden he breaks through, busts through, boom, 45 yards later, they're in victory formation, the best formation in football. So I think that's what Ashton Jeanty could do. But first and foremost, the Raiders have to protect the ball. Stay ahead of the chains. No pre-snap penalties. You don't need any -10s, holding penalties. You don't want 1st and 20. You sure don't want false starts, right? The offensive line's got to know the snap count. I'm looking at you, JPJ. He had 14 penalties last year. He's got to clean that up. Can't put his team in harm's way. Second-year guy now. He's got to be more mature. He got to know the snap count, right? You know when the snap count is, right? You got to watch the ball. You don't move until the ball moves, right? I mean, that's just basic. You can't have 14 penalties and think that this team is going to be really good. Stay ahead of the chains. No pre-snap penalties. Run the ball. Make the Patriots prove that they can stop it. I know we've had conversations about, well, you don't just have to run, right? You can throw the ball and then establish the run. And that's true. They can get about it that way. But the Patriots last year couldn't stop me from running the ball, right? There was a time when there was 17 runs in a row that the Patriots had to put on them because they couldn't stop the run. I know they got Milton Williams from the Eagles. He's not necessarily a run stopper. That's not what his forte was in Philadelphia, right? And so is he going to be able to help stop the run? We'll find out. But I would test it until they prove that they can stop it. And you got the guys to do it. Jeanty, White, Mostert, right? Trey Tucker. He's going to be involved in the running game as well. Just throw that out there and see what they do. And finally, you got to be good in short yardage. Red zone efficiency and short yardage. That's the one issue that the Raiders have, and I'm really intrigued to see if Zamir White could be that hammer that Pete Carroll called him. I'm interested, did he call him the hammer? Because that's what he's going to do, get that Zach Crockett carry. You know, remember when the Raiders would get down by the goal line and Zach Crockett would come in and everyone in the stadium knew that guy's getting the ball 3 or 4 times, and he would get them and he would get into the end zone? Is that what Zamir White's going to be? Is that going to be his role? You know, 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, here comes Zamir White, here comes Zeus. Let him pick up the 1 yard. Right? I mean, he's running strong. He's running fast. Could he be that guy? Very possible, right? We'll find out, but that's a very possible role he can have. Raheem Mostert, as a veteran, he's a very physical runner as well. I know he doesn't look like a well-chiseled machine, but he's a physical runner as well. He's a really good guy when it comes to getting into the end zone. I asked him what was it about his running style that he was so productive and efficient when it came to getting into the end zone. He said, man, it's just physicality. I play very physical, and near the goal line, the most physical team wins, the most physical offensive line, and the running back that runs with the most physicality is going to get it done. So they have a 3-headed monster that I believe that they can really use in that short yardage red zone area. They've got to be able to do that. Even the touchdown that Genty got in the preseason game against the 49ers, that was even a struggle. So trust and believe the short yardage is something to pay attention to. My guy Lincoln Kennedy says it all the time. The Raiders have always struggled in short yardage for the last handful of years. They've got to clean that up if they want to be a real effective running game, like a running team, like we all expect them to be. So that's what I got for offense and defense. Special teams, A.J. Cole continue to flip the field like he does. Daniel Carlson continue to be Cash Money Carlson. The weather looks like it might be a little shaky there, so it might be ball security might be something, and obviously trying to kick long field goals might be something as well. So I'd rather see him kick more extra points than field goals. But this is my request. And Raider Nation, have you been rocking with me for a while? You know what my request is. Can I see an effective return? Can I see a big kick return? Can I see that? Can I see the Raiders have a threat when it comes to the punt return and kick return game? They've got a new kickoff rule. If you get a touchback, go ahead and take a knee. You get it at the 35. You're a couple first downs away from being in field goal range. So use that to your advantage. But if you do run it out, get some yards, man. Become a threat. Someone take it to the house this season, right? I would love for someone to take it to the house this season. Man, it's like walking through the desert with no water. They are starving for a kick return touchdown. Travion Henderson for the Patriots had one in the preseason the very first time he touched the ball, went 100 yards to the house. Can the Raiders get one? I know that it was preseason, didn't matter, but just seeing it was cool. Can the Raiders get one? Do that. That's a challenge that I have. Trey Tucker, kick return, punt returner. He's the guy that's on the front line when it comes to that on the depth chart. Dylan Lobby's going to have a role there. I know Genty's listed as a punt returner as well. The second team, I doubt to see him back there unless they just are looking for a big play, and maybe they do. He looks smooth doing it in practice, I'll tell you that. Doesn't look like it's a big deal at all that he'd be willing to do that. Not saying that they're going to do that, but maybe if they feel like they need a big spark or a big play, maybe he does that. But I'd like to see a spark or a big play in the return game as well. I'm going to say that every week. All 17 games, 18 weeks this year, I'd love to see the Raiders have an explosive or two in the kick return game. So that's what I got for you. Those are the keys to victory. I do believe the Raiders win this one 23-20, but they got to check those boxes that I just went through. Coming up in segment number 3, what's on your mind? Your calls and texts will close us out. 707-654-4693. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about another great sponsor that we have here on the Locked On Raiders podcast, and that is DoorDash. As you know, it's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. And I think, honestly, we've seen one game so far in the 2025 NFL season, the Eagles and the Cowboys. I think both Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley delivered the most. And now they delivered the most in the first half of the game and right before the weather delay, but they delivered, right? You saw Jalen Hurts get it done on the ground. A couple touchdown runs by scrambles. The Cowboys had really good coverage, but Jalen Hurts was able to shake out of the pocket and get into the end zone. Saquon Barkley looked like, well, he's still Saquon Barkley. Didn't go for 100 yards, but he still looked really good. The Eagles got the 24-20 victory. They delivered, like I said, really in the first half, well before the weather delay. After the weather delay, nobody delivered. But that was big-time deliverance and helped the Eagles get that 24-20 victory on Thursday night. For the Eagles, for Saquon Barkley, for Jalen Hurts, they delivered in a big way. And just like that, DoorDash delivers and delivers in a big way on Saturdays. Your DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season. You can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. It's just that simple. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts are off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. We'll start off with a text from Jad in San Jose. He says, hey, Q, it's Jad in San Jose. Can't believe that the season is almost here. Season opener. I just want to talk about how I see the Raiders season going. I've turned into a pessimistic fan these past few years. Can you blame me? But this year, I'm cruising and cautiously optimistic. I think our offense has a very good chance to be in the top 10. We massively upgraded at the quarterback and running back position, as well as our offensive coordinator. I think our red zone offense will be much better than years past. However, I unfortunately believe this defense may be bottom 5. The only thing I feel okay about is the run D, but even if that's iffy, I'm not sure we'll be able to generate any interior pressure, and we may have the worst linebacker and secondary group in the league. I think this may be a very 2020-esque season. Ultimately, believe we'll go 9-8 while going 4-2 the division. Do you think my assessment is accurate based on what you see? Loving the show, man. Thanks. That's Chad in San Jose. Thank you for the text. I do appreciate you. I agree with the offense. I think it has a chance to be really good. Really special. I've been saying it's the strength of the team, and I don't think there's any question about that. The defense, I do have questions. I do agree. I think that they're built to stop the run. I don't think it's iffy. I think they're going to. They're going to try to make teams one-dimensional. The secondary, I believe that there are questions. It's really thin there in the cornerbacks. I mean, you got Eric Stokes. You got DeCam Richardson behind him. You got Caillou Blue Kelly. You got Darian Porter behind him, and you got Darnay Holmes. And that's it. I actually talked to Eric Stokes in the Raiders locker room on Thursday. He said he's good to go. He's excited. He's fired up. So we'll see. But, yeah, I mean, the secondary is a question. The linebackers, though, I think are different. I do have confidence in them, even though they're questionable when it comes to being in coverage. But, again, going back to the strength of this team is stopping the run. Those dudes will get downhill and stop the run. I have confidence in that. Plus, they're veterans, so I think that they'll help the young guys in the secondary along. But it's definitely going to be a work in progress. So we'll see how it plays out, and we'll start to see it coming up on Sunday. So we'll see what happens. I've been saying 8 wins, 9 wins should be fair for this team in year one. Nobody wants to hear that, but I think that that's the truth. And if they do better than that, they overachieve, there's nothing wrong with that either. So I'll take it. Thanks so much for the text. Do appreciate you. Got a call from the 814. He's calling to talk about the upcoming game on Sunday, what he likes about the team, and expectations of who and what needs to step up. Here's a call from the 814.
Q, you're a tough guy to get a hold of. That's because you're so popular in what you do, you know, broadcasting the Raiders on social media, and no one does it better than you, Q. You're direct on your points. I've never seen you be ambiguous or redundant with anything, and you just spit it right out like a DJ in a major discotheque back in the days. Just kidding me. This is football. Q, I think the Raiders, although they're not chosen to win this game, they're not picked to win it, I believe the defense will find a way to get to Drake May. And 2, I also believe in that offensive line where everything starts. You got a quarterback that's mobile and can throw the ball. And even with, you know, our top boy, who's having contract issues as things stand right now, Jacoby Myers. I think that the other guys will be able to fill his shoes enough to move those sticks and then give Genty a track. As a rookie or not, we saw him at Boise State in Division I and in the playoffs. He can bust the big one, and you never know when he will. So that's something that Vrabel and his defensive coordinator, defensive staff have to be cognizant of. They have a lot to be cognizant of. I think this offense, as they mature, is going to be dynamic and nothing less than that. Q, keep up the good work, brother. Let her rip. Take care.
Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. Next time, man, you got to give me your name so I can shout you out. But appreciate you, and I do think that the offensive line is going to be good. I'm excited about it. Miller, Parham, Meredith, JPJ, Glaze. I do think that left to right, they look pretty good. And I think that they've blended pretty well. and Ashton Genty's going to be able to run behind them, and more importantly, Geno Smith is going to be able to stand in the pocket and have an opportunity to deliver. I do think this offensive line, they came up with the starting five soon enough, so they had an opportunity to gel during training camp and practice. Now, again, it's live and it's real coming up on Sunday, but I do think they're going to have a chance to be a pretty good offensive line. So thanks so much for the call. Definitely appreciate you. And like I said, man, next time you call, you got to give me your name. Up next, I got a text from Justin and Chico. He said, "Hey, Q. Justin for Chico, I wanted to weigh in on the wide receiver situation. Raiders brass should bump up Jacoby's salary for this year, about $8 to $10 million, similar to what the Bengals Hendrickson did, or the 49ers with Jennings. Jacoby is clearly a favorite from a team player's side and fan side. He carries himself the right way, and I think the organization should reward that based on what he is and how he has handled his contract situation. On to the Cooper situation. Good riddance. Super talented guy, obviously, but never had the right attitude to play wide receiver or really play in the NFL. First game of his career, he got absolutely punked by a much smaller Pac-Man Jones. Should have brawled with Pac-Man to send a message that he's not to be played with. Now his last career move is retiring 3 days out from the season opener. Clearly his heart wasn't in it. Regardless, he doesn't belong on the same team as Max Crosby, who's basically the David Goggins of the NFL. This is not saying Cooper isn't a good person, but his demeanor and attitude is not made for the NFL, and even more so for wide receiver. This is 4 straight years of Raiders wide receiver drama. Please give your thoughts on Cooper when you saw the Pac-Man situation go down. As always, you're killing it. Go Raiders. That's Justin and Chico. And, yeah, I remember that, right? Pac-Man basically took his helmet off and basically slammed Coop's head into the Coliseum ground, and I thought that was foul as well. And the fact that Coop didn't fight back was just kind of let you know who, he is and his personality. He just never, to me, as I said in segment 1, he never had the personality and the want to be great. I think he has the want to be good. I think he has the want to be rich. I think he wants to be able to have his family taken care of, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone doesn't have to have the desire to be great or obsessed with it, but the great ones are obsessed, right? Guys like Max Crosby who get to the facility before anyone else. Like that, he takes pride in getting to the facility before everyone else, right? He takes pride in being first on all the drills. The runs after practice. He's the guy leading the charge. Like, he takes charge of that, and he takes pride in that. There's a difference, man. There's again, you could be good in the NFL for a very long time and not even like football and make a whole lot of money. But because of your size and your athletic skill set, you could survive. And then there's the ones that go out there, and you're like, man, they're playing a kid's game. They make it look effortless. They got a smile on their face. They love it, and they're obsessed with being great. And that's the difference. And, part minority owner Tom Brady, he might have been drafted in the 6th round, but he was a guy that was obsessed with being great. And he wasn't going to stop until he was great. And it didn't matter what he had to sacrifice to do it, he was going to do it. Not saying that that's always the right approach, but I can appreciate that approach, right? And I feel like that more people should want to be great and strive to be great as opposed to, I'm just going to get by. Right. And it seems like Coop was always just willing to get by. So it kind of is what it is. But there's that. So thanks so much. I do appreciate the text. We'll close out with a call from Raider X. He's calling to talk about the Raiders' open roster spot now that Cooper decided, thanks, but no thanks, and call it quits. Here's Raider X.
Yo, Q, Raider X. Quick, short, and to the point. Raiders now have 52. One's gone. Cooper's gone. Do we fill the need, or do we stay put? Fill the need. Let's go get Jabril Peppers. Just like you said, get some thoughts. Let's shore up our weakness and get a little bit more depth in that secondary. Like to get your thoughts. Raider X out.
Jabril Peppers. Yeah, he might be a guy that they make a call to after this week, right? If it shows that they need him. Again, Jabril Peppers might allow, if the Raiders were to sign him, they might allow Jeremy Chin to come up and play that big nickel more. But I feel like they've got a lot of chess pieces that are very similar, right? I mean, like Jamal Adams, Jabril Peppers, if they were to add him, Jeremy Chin, right? Devin White, they're really not an all well-rounded guy. They're more like they're good at one certain thing. Jeremy Chin, he could do multiple things, but at the same time, if you bring in Peppers, like I said, you're putting Chin, you're sliding him up to be in the big nickel all the time. So then that's the role. So I feel like you're taking away from his versatility. But again, we'll see what happens on Sunday. Maybe the Raiders will look and be like, you know what? We need more help. Yeah, let's go on and call Peppers. I think they're going to be comfortable with rolling with who they have right now. I'm sure they're going to elevate Bachman or Shedrick Jackson as a wide receiver up to the roster probably on Saturday. I think they're going to elevate Terrell Edmonds as well. Remember, Terrell Edmonds is part of the mix. He's just on the practice squad. Maybe they end up putting him on the regular squad now. Maybe they just elevate him, put him on the 53-man roster permanently. or they might just keep that and have a little bit of flexibility and be able to, finagle the roster a little bit, which will probably be what they do since they make so many changes. But we'll see sooner rather than later. But I do expect to see a tweet from Raiders PR on Saturday saying that they elevated at least one player to the active roster. I think it's going to be Bachman. Terrell Edmonds, I feel very confident that he'll be one, but probably two. Probably Bachman and Edmonds on Saturday. So look out for that tweet. And, of course, at your boy Q254, I'll retweet it as soon as it drops. So thanks so much for the call, Raider X. Definitely appreciate you. That's going to do it for today's show. That's going to do it for the week. And Raider Nation, we're here. One game in the books on Thursday, one game tonight. Pay attention to this one. AFC West showdown by way of Brazil, the Chiefs and the Chargers. One team in the AFC West is going to have an L, and we'll see what happens coming up on Sunday with the Raiders and the Patriots. If the Raiders handle their business, and, who knows, maybe they'll be in a really good position after week one. Like I said, the Chiefs and the Chargers, one of those teams is going to have an L. The Chargers come to Allegiant Stadium in week 2. The Chiefs take on the Eagles in week 2. So the Raiders could be in a good spot, but it's all about them. They've got to handle their business. So hopefully they do. We'll be talking about it on Monday. Full reactions, trust and believe that. So have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the game tonight. Enjoy college football on Saturday, and get ready for the silver and black on Sunday. Until then, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.